Welcome to the Born on This Day ASMR series. Today is February 13th, the day of liveliness. We are reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost. This book is a work of Personology. A day is a year, is a lifetime, is an age. Personology combines history, psychology, numerology, tarot, and astrology to form a personality guide for each person based on their day of birth. I plan to make an episode for each day of the year following the grand life cycle. I meant to start on January 1st, and it is now February. If today is your birthday, happy birthday. Welcome to Folk Alchemy. The energetic individuals born on February 13th are usually up for most anything stimulating, within reason. They seek out exciting events and themselves enjoy being in the spotlight. In fact, many born on this day qualify as outright exhibitionists. Those who do not seek the notice of a wider public may still command a great deal of attention in their family or social circle. February 13th people tend to be emotionally demonstrative, wishing to share their feelings, whether joyful or melancholy. Volatile individuals, those born on this day, find it difficult to keep secrets or contain their thoughts for very long. Indeed, their frankness and emotional spontaneity can land them in plenty of trouble, particularly in regard to matters of love. February 13th people generally believe in letting it all hang out. I'm sure this does not refer to their reproductive organs, but in more of a metaphorical sense of being open to the winds of change. The winds of change being metaphorical too and not referring to flatulence. Letting it all hang out, but sometimes do so in only one or two specific areas of their lives. In those particular areas, there is little chance of holding them back or bringing them into line. Their rational side is actually well developed and their minds facile, but sometimes there is an apparent split between their brain and their body, their head and heart. Thus, they can be quite disconnected, failing to apply the brakes to their feelings, or on the other hand, bring some emotionality into their detached mode of thinking. Failing to bring emotionality into their detached mode of thinking. Spirited, uninhibited behavior is not uncommon in many February 13th people, which for the most part is healthy and expressive. However, less evolved individuals born on this day can tend toward the violent or self-destructive side, or both. For all February 13th people, cultivating calm without being overly cool, learning to limit spontaneity without repressing it, and remembering that not everyone can stand up to their demands and criticism are crucial to their growth as human beings. They must also realize that by being so demonstrative, they might be inhibiting the people with whom they are involved, who probably wish to be more free-spirited themselves. February 13th people have to locate and remain in touch with their center, and perhaps dig deeper into their complex personalities if they wish to move along in their personal development. They must work to better understand the thought processes of others, and be more responsive to people's fears, needs, and wishes. Those born on this day sometimes make the mistake of expecting a kind of instant recognition when it comes to interpersonal contacts. They may assume that others are as secure and trusting as they are, when such may not be the case at all. It is understandable that February 13th people wish that those they talk to or deal with intimately be on their wavelength, but they must not grow impatient or irritable when a block to understanding arises, or when what seems perfectly obvious to them is not so clear to others. In their weakness, those born on this day can be impulsive, reckless, or even distracted. In their strength, those born on this day can be spontaneous, outgoing, and very energetic. Numbers and planets. Those born on the 13th of the month are ruled by the number 4. 1 plus 3 equals 4. 13, 1 plus 3. And by the planet Uranus, which is both erratic and explosive. The number 4 traditionally represents rebellion, idiosyncratic beliefs, and a desire to change the rules. Such characteristics are heightened in February 13th people because explosive Uranus also governs their sign, Aquarius. They must therefore control their temper and resist violent impulses, while directing excess energy in a positive direction. Although the number 13 is considered unlucky by many people, it is rather a potent number, which carries the responsibility of using its power wisely, or running the risk of self-destruction. The planets. Astrology traditionally speaks of 10 principal heavenly bodies which can be viewed from the Earth. The 2 luminaries, Sun and Moon, the 3 inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and 5 outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. All of these, including Sun and Moon, are called planets, and each represents a different facet of the human personality. The names of the planets largely derive from classical Greek and Roman mythology and their symbolism from the gods and goddesses, which they represent. Every planet serves as an astrological indicator as well as a heavenly body. In this book, the rulership of both astrological signs and numbers by planets gives important clues to the personality of those born on each day. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius and the number 4. This planet was discovered around the time of the French Revolution, so symbolizes strongly individualistic and at times rebellious energies. The movements of the planet Uranus are erratic, and the quality of not doing things in a straight-line fashion and releasing spontaneous and impulsive energies are characteristic of Uranian people. The 84-year solar orbit of Uranus is taken in this book to be the ideal lifespan of humans in the Aquarian age. And I wanted to add some mythology since we get double Uranus today. The selections are by Edith Hamilton and Bernard Evslin. The first creatures who had the appearance of life were the children of Mother Earth and Father Heaven, Gaia and Oranos. Oranos is the Greek for Uranus, which again, Gaia and Oranos, they were monsters. Just as we believe that the Earth was once inhabited by strange, gigantic creatures, so did the Greeks. They did not, however, think of them as huge lizards and mammoths, but as somewhat like men and yet unhuman. They had the shattering, overwhelming strength of earthquake and hurricane and volcano. In the tales about them, they do not seem really alive, but rather to belong to a world where as yet there was no life. Only tremendous movements of irresistible forces, lifting up the mountains, scooping out seas. The Greeks apparently had some such feeling because in their stories, although they represent these creatures as living beings, they make them unlike any form of life known to man. 3 of them, monstrously huge and strong, had each 100 hands and 50 heads. To 3 others was given the name of Cyclops, the wheel-eyed, because each had only one enormous eye, as round and as big as a wheel. In the middle of the forehead, the Cyclops too were gigantic, towering up like mighty mountain crags and devastating in their power. Last came the Titans. There were a number of these, and they were in no way inferior to the others in size and strength, but they were not purely destructive. Several of them were even beneficent. One, indeed, after men had been created, saved them from destruction. It was natural to think of these fearful creations as the children of Mother Earth, of Gaia, brought forth from her dark depths when the world was young. But it is extremely odd that they were also the children of heaven, of Uranus. However, that was what the Greeks said, and they made heaven out to be a very poor father. He hated the things with 100 hands and 50 heads, even though they were his sons, and as each was born, he imprisoned it in a secret place within the earth. The Cyclops and the Titans he left at large, and Earth, enraged at the maltreatment of her other children, appealed to them to help her. Only one was bold enough, the Titan Cronus. He lay in wait for his father, and wounded him terribly. The dying Uranus had prophesied, saying, "You murder me now, and steal my throne, but one of your sons will dethrone you, for crime begets crime." He lay in wait for his father, Uranus, and wounded him terribly. The giants, the fourth race of monsters, sprang up from his blood. Once Uranus was dead. From the same blood, too, the Urines, the Furies, were born. Their office was to pursue and punish. They were called those who walk in the darkness, and they were terrible of aspect, with writhing snakes for hair, and eyes that wept tears of blood. The other monsters were finally driven from the earth, but not the Urines. As long as there was sin in the world, they could not be banished. And this concept of original sin just refers to original bloodshed. And it's a classic myth that from the first bloodshed sprouted more bloodshed. A cycle of bloodshed. Blood watering the earth. What grows from blood is more bloodshed. Anyway, that is just a little bit of mythology tying Uranus to today's birthday. Gloomy birthday for you. Back to our regularly scheduled program. Tarot. The most misunderstood card in the tarot is the 13th card of the major arcana, Death, which very rarely is to be taken literally, but generally signifies a letting go of the past in order to grow beyond limitations, metaphorically. So I guess metaphorically you're growing beyond your limitations, but literally you're stuck with your limitations. So I think the authors were just worried that you were going to try to die if the tarot card suggested that your limitations were more than metaphorical. But I think you going beyond your limitations isn't only metaphorical, otherwise you wouldn't be going beyond them. But that's just me. The major arcana. Far more significant are the 22 cards known as the major arcana, which cannot be associated with the modern playing card deck. They are, in all probability, a concentrated version of Hermetic philosophy, as later interpreted in the Kabbalah, Alchemy, magic, and astrology. They comprise a psychological study of man and his relationship to the world of the spirit and to the physical world. Their symbolism is a type of shorthand for metaphysics and mysticism. Here are truths of so subtle and divine an order that to express them baldly in human language would be a sacrilege. Only esoteric symbolism can reveal them to the inner spirit of the seeker. The major arcana are numbered from 0 to 21, each bearing a title which to some degree describes the card. Each card represents a distinct principle, law of power, or element in nature. The designs on the cards also illuminate the life of man, his joys and sorrows, hopes and despairs. They further indicate his search for the wisdom which enables him to control his passions, and help in his transition to higher spheres, where he enters into things of the spirit. Any book on the occult will be more readily comprehended. Any of these 22 cards of the major arcana can be the foundation for a great deal of meditation and inner enlightenment. In addition, be convinced that there is some power present when the cards are read that directs their distribution. An extra physical power, now demonstrated in our universities as psychokinetic effect, cooperates with the unconscious muscular activities of the person using the deck, and tends to affect the cards as they are shuffled and cut so that when dealt, they fall into positions that have significance in relation to the reading. The Fool, card 0, can in a sense be compared to the Joker in the modern deck of cards, in that it has no assigned place in the deck, but stands more or less alone. Some writers in the tarot, in order to carry out their own interpretation, place the Fool between the 20th and 21st cards, but there is no concrete evidence that this card belongs in that position, or, for that matter, as the first card of the major arcana. Rather, this is a separate card, a third part of the deck, the sum total of all. The Fool, card 0, the sum total of all. Keys. The mysterious horseman, Death, rides a well-bridled horse and moves slowly across a field. He bears a black banner emblazoned with the mystic rose, which signifies life. On the edge of the horizon, the sun shines between two towers. All are powerless before their rider. King, child, girl fall prostrate before him, while a priest awaits his coming with clasped hands. The card represents the death of the old self, not necessarily physical death, the sloughing off of fleshly desires. He who realizes that death must be conquered by the regeneration of the soul is on the way to attaining eternal life. Divinatory meaning, transformation, change, sometimes destruction, followed or preceded by transformation. The change may be in the form of consciousness. Sometimes it may mean birth and renewal. Reversed, temporary stagnation, tendency to inertia. Tarot cards have been used for centuries to predict the future, shed light on the past, and reveal the mysterious patterns of character and destiny. Health. Those born on February 13th may be accident-prone and must resist any urge to court injury with dangerous physical activities. Particularly at risk is the lower half of their body. Learning to remain calm in trying circumstances and not to react impulsively helps a great deal. Therefore, all centering activities such as yoga, meditation, and Tai Chi are highly recommended. The February 13th diet often tends to the extravagant, but it is best if those born on this day can tone things down a bit by restricting sugar and stimulants, butter and cream, and excessive meat. February 13th people are usually highly sexually oriented and must mind that the ebb and flow of their sex life does not play a disproportionate role in their love relationships, or become a focus of concern. As far as exercise and sports are concerned, only moderate activity is recommended for those born on February 13th. Advice. Observe yourself living. Remain in contact with the feelings and opinions of others. Cultivate greater willpower and self-control. Natural behavior is generally admirable, but not always pleasing to others or appropriate for a given situation. Meditation, the quietest place to be found, rests inside a peaceful soul. Thank you for watching, listening, relaxing. I will see you later.